Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be talking about how to have a merry lockdown Christmas. There's still a few people joining us, so I'll just give them a minute. If you've not joined us before, I'm just quickly going to go over how to participate in today's event. So I've just taken a screenshot here of your control panel. So that's just letting you know that you're listening using your computer audio by default, that you'll be muted for the duration of the webinar, but you can still ask any questions or leave any comments by typing those into the questions panel there. And you can do that anytime during the presentation, and I'll stop at different moments and try and answer some of those questions for you. There also are some handouts included in that control panel that you should be able to access, and that's just giving you some more information about some of the things we'll be talking about today. And included in those is a really big toolkit on coping during coronavirus. It's got lots of really helpful information in it, so I'd really encourage you to check that out, as well as all the other ones as well. Now you can download these handouts during the webinar, but you can also get a hold of them on our website. So if you look under the news and events page, it's got information on all of our webinars in this series and the ones we did at the start of lockdown. And under today's webinar, there'll be a link to all the handouts and all the other resources or anything else that I mentioned at the end. So if you're viewing a recording or you just want to find them at a later date, you can do that there. So I'll just introduce myself now. So my name is Dr. Heather Meikle. I'm a counselling psychologist and also work as clinical projects officer here at First Psychology Scotland. And I've worked at First Psychology for over 2 years now, first as a student and then as a practitioner doing one-to-one therapy. And now I do both therapy and developing other resources for clients and businesses and things just like this webinar series. So really keen to get your feedback on anything that you've enjoyed or anything you think we could improve on this at the end. So obviously today we're talking about Christmas, and you can let me know what the Christmas season means to you. It might mean something different to a lot of people. It could mean you're celebrating actually a completely different holiday or different festival depending on your religion, your beliefs, or just your own personal family traditions. You'll probably celebrate completely different from each other even. So let me know what it is that's most important to you. So some things I thought of, and someone else has commented, being with family and taking part in traditions. So that was one of the things that I thought of as well. Spending time with family might be religious traditions or just family traditions, exchanging gifts with each other, having a really nice meal together, reading the terrible cracker jokes. That's one of my favourite parts. Decorating the Christmas tree, going to Christmas markets, maybe drinking mulled wine, looking at all the Christmas displays, going on work nights out. I really miss seeing my colleagues outside of work, so that's something I'm definitely going to miss, although we might be doing something virtual. I'm sure lots of people will be doing lots of different things this year. But let me know what other things you're most missing about Christmas, because a lot of these things are going to be different or impossible to do this year. There might be ways we can adapt some of these things. Doing lots of things over video chat, as I mentioned. Maybe you'll be making more crafts of the things that you would normally buy or see at the Christmas markets, or make your own mulled wine, or just walk around your local streets and look at their Christmas displays or their Christmas decorations. As I said, maybe you'll have your work party online. So let me know how you're kind of adapting Christmas to lockdown this year. And so what I'm kind of worried about is that there's going to be more stressors this year. So that's kind of what this slide is about, that might be getting in the way of us adapting to lockdown. So we might be able to see some people if the lockdown restrictions stay lifted for Christmas. At the moment, it looks like we can make a bubble with 2 other households. Whether that changes, I don't know. So we might miss people that can't be there with us, whether that's somebody that's passed away or somebody that just lives too far away and can't come and visit. We might have more strained relationships with the people that we are spending Christmas with, maybe roommates, partners, family, in-laws. We might be having more financial difficulties this year. There's a lot more worry, I think, about money, practicalities of shopping for Christmas, if our business or our job was badly affected by the lockdown. And we might be struggling with our mental health just because of all the additional stressors that have been going on this year, and everything that's going on around the world. And also maybe we're just really sick of Zoom and Skype and we just don't want to have a virtual online Christmas. Um, so just seeing family, I think, seems to be the most important thing for people. Seeing happy faces when they open their presents on Christmas morning, I like that one. So let me know what it is that you're maybe most worried about, and that gives me a better idea of where everyone's coming from today. And I just want to do a quick poll. I just want to find out how confident everyone is feeling just now about having a Merry Christmas this year. You know, are you feeling very confident about it? Are you a bit more worried? Are you somewhere in the middle? So just select the appropriate response and press submit, and I'll close the poll in a few moments. If you've not submitted yet, just go ahead and do that now, and I will close the poll in a wee second. Yeah, someone said, yeah, missing people who aren't going to be there, definitely. So that's maybe a big thing for a lot of you this year. So I'm just going to close the poll now, and I'll just share the results with everyone. So we've got a bit of a mix. Quite a lot of you are feeling, you know, somewhat confident or very confident, so that's great. And a few of you kind of somewhere in the middle are not feeling very confident. So that just gives me a better sense of where you're all coming from, and we can see if we can't make you feel a little bit more confident wherever you lie on that this year. So what I don't want to do today is go into too much detail on things that we've maybe already been over in kind of past webinars, or things that you've maybe already heard on the news, things like that about coping with lockdown, you know, like getting creative and crafty and video calling everybody. I think that's stuff we already know to do by this stage of lockdown. Maybe we need a wee reminder, and that's totally okay. We can definitely talk about some of that more practical stuff. If that is important to you, just let me know. But instead, I wanted to talk a bit about maintaining kind of healthy boundaries and maintaining our mental health during the Christmas season this year, just to help deal with these kind of additional stressors. Because I think we can maybe expect more conflict within families, more pressure to enjoy Christmas this year because of everything else that's going on. And the aim of this webinar is then just to look at some scenarios that might come up and get some suggestions from yourselves as well about what you're worrying about. See if we can help you feel a bit more confident. So we're going to focus on these three things, but if there's anything else, just let me know. So feeling pressure to visit family when you maybe don't want to, worrying about finances, or feeling pressure to enjoy Christmas when you're struggling with your mental health. So I'm going to start off with feeling pressure to visit family but you don't want to. So this is maybe something that comes up for you every year. This might be something that's a bit new to you this year. So what might happen is that maybe you work in a high-risk job, such as in the healthcare services, social care services, or teaching, and you're worried about passing on any infections to elderly or at-risk relatives, or maybe you yourself are more at risk. And are worried about catching an infection from other people who maybe aren't isolating or quarantining to the same level that you are. And in either circumstance, you might feel more pressure from family, your partner, or your in-laws to visit, especially now that it looks like the government might be allowing some easing of lockdown restrictions over Christmas. So what do you do if you don't want to visit family for Christmas, but you feel like they are pressuring you into it, or they're making you feel guilty about it, or they would say they're going to be disappointed if you don't come? Well, I think one of the best things to do is just learn how to assert your needs and your boundaries with others in a really healthy and productive way. And one way to do that is just by using some assertive communication skills. So I'm going to link something at the end that's going to have a bit more information on this. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but if it's something that you do want to know more about, I have included some more information. But one of the first and most important things when we're talking about assertive communication is valuing yourself and valuing your needs. So to be more assertive, you really need to gain a good understanding of yourself as well as a really strong belief in your value. You know, that means you need to consider that your needs and wants are just as important as other people's. And this self-belief is the basis of, you know, confident, assertive behavior. It helps you recognize that you do deserve to be treated with respect, and it gives you the confidence to stick up for your wants and needs, protect them, and kind of try and remain true to yourself. While self-confidence is an important aspect of assertiveness, it is important that you make sure it doesn't develop into some kind of, I don't know, sense of self-importance. So you're absolutely right that your thoughts, your feelings, your needs are just as important as everyone else's, but they're not more important than anyone else's. So that's something to maybe remember. You also want to voice your wants and needs confidently. You don't want to wait for someone else to recognize what you need because you might be waiting for a very long time. So try and take the initiative and start to identify what it is that you want. Try and do that starting, as soon as possible. And once you've done that, you can tell your family exactly what it is that you need from them to help you look after your mental health this Christmas. But try and find ways, if you can, to make requests that avoid sacrificing other people's needs and wants, because you want people to help you, and asking for things in maybe an aggressive or a pushy way is likely to put them off doing that, and it might even damage your relationship, which you probably don't want. And you also want to acknowledge that you can't control other people's behaviour. So this is probably the hardest one. Try not to make the mistake of accepting responsibility for how people react to your assertiveness. So people might react angrily or resentfully towards you, but try and avoid reacting to them in the same way or criticizing yourself. Because remember, you can't control other people, but you control yourself and your behavior. So as long as you're being respectful and you're not violating somebody else's needs or their rights, then you have the right to say and do what you want. I find that the hardest one, the hardest one to do. And learning to say no as well. So very difficult if you're not used to doing it, but it is important if you want to become more assertive. Knowing your own limits and how much you're able to take on this, like this season, will really help you to manage your mental health more effectively. So you can't possibly do everything or please everyone. So it's important that you protect your time and your mental health by saying no when necessary. So when you do have to say no, try and find a compromise that works for everyone if you can. And there are a number of kind of simple but effective communication techniques that you can use to become more assertive when setting boundaries or making requests from people. So things like using I statements. So that just puts the focus on yourself and your feelings rather than, placing the blame on somebody else. So say, for example, you say, oh, when you do that, I feel this way, rather than you make me feel blah, blah, blah. Or try and describe the situation without being judgmental or critical, because then the other person is much more likely to consider your point of view or compromise if they aren't feeling defensive themselves. So, why can't you just do this? Or is a little bit more critical rather than making a request. Actually, you're doing this and I'm finding that quite difficult. Is there something else that we could be doing instead? Try and understand and empathize with the other person's point of view this way, so you can come up with a solution that is good for both of you. So if you just assert your needs and say, I just don't want to come this year, just don't want to come and visit this year, you might get what you want, but that other person's needs aren't being met. And that can create ongoing conflict, ongoing friction, but by being proactive and encouraging solutions, you can try and break the cycle of blame and find a compromise. So you say, I understand that it's really important for you to spend time with your family and spend quality time with them, but this year I'm just not comfortable meeting up or potentially infecting, other people or spreading the virus. Can we do something online and then try and meet up when the lockdown restrictions lift? Something like that. So it's just something that works a bit better for everyone. So there's more information, as I say, about that in the resources. So we can definitely come back to that. Someone has mentioned, yeah, Christmas can be a mental health trigger for lots of people, especially those that are isolated, those that have suffered other kind of tragedies in their life over this period of time. Yeah, a lot of people don't want to do anything at Christmas. We'll definitely come back to that in a wee minute, and then after we're quickly going to talk about finances first, but we'll definitely come back to that. So in terms of finances, obviously Christmas is a time we look forward to for lots of reasons, whether it's time off work, going on holiday, promise of presents, or just indulging in really good food, or spending time with loved ones. One of the sort of unfortunate side effects is that it's often very costly, and we sometimes feel like we have to give our families, and particularly our kids, the perfect Christmas. So I just wanted to quickly touch on some ways of saving money this year, if it's something that you're maybe not used to. you might have some good ideas of your own of what you're doing to save money this year. Maybe just because we're not having as big celebrations, that might be saving a bit of money as well. You might want to limit gift spending this year. So maybe some of your family members or some of your friends might have more disposable income than you this year, and that can cause tension if they're buying, really expensive gifts and you can't reciprocate that. So if that makes you feel uncomfortable, you might want to agree like a spending limit, or you could even do a secret Santa this year to try and reduce the number of gifts that you're getting, and instead buy, one person something really special. You can also handmade gifts. Get crafty. It could be gifts from your kids to your family. It could be something that you do yourself. Maybe you've got a hidden talent that you want to use this Christmas. Or I have a friend that makes really beautiful cards and personalised gifts at home, and they feel really special and meaningful when I get those because I know she took the time out to make those for me. And you can also offer friends and family sort of vouchers, kind of like IOUs, maybe for like afternoon tea or a special meal or a spa day, and they can redeem that at a later date. And that can help you spread out your spending a little bit more, but you've still got something to give people on the day. And you can get thrifty in other ways, just wee simple things like, using brown wrapping paper that you maybe just decorate with glitter, pens, paints, or even pictures cut from old Christmas magazines or Christmas cards. And making Christmas cards or sending e-cards can be a lot cheaper, especially, I imagine the delivery mail service is going to be very under a lot of pressure this year. But it would be nice to be able to still send people something to let them know that you're thinking about them. And if you're really worried or feeling really guilty about not being able to afford an extravagant Christmas this year, we want to make sure that we're doing some things to kind of look after ourselves, just like managing our social media use. There's lots of images being presented to us about what like the ideal or like most beautiful Christmas should look like, especially if you're watching the Hallmark movie channel. And that has become even more of a factor with social media. People often share, the best parts of their holiday, and that can make us feel, can leave us feeling like, oh, ours isn't as good as theirs. They're having a great time. So we can't stop the Hallmark Christmas channel from taking over, but we can manage our social media use a bit better and try not to compare ourselves to others so much. And maybe this year is the best idea to have, conversation about what's really important to us or is really meaningful to us at Christmas time, and try and focus on that. So it could be a time to encourage giving different kinds of things rather than just gifts. So whether it's giving time, donations to either family and friends or to other people that are have a greater need than we do, not necessarily just focusing on, say, getting the new iPhone. Could be an opportunity to try and encourage and instill those sort of important values in your family, and it might lead to new traditions of giving and donating and things during the holiday season. And practice self-compassion, please. Next time you notice yourself, criticizing yourself, try and say something a bit more encouraging instead. And if you really struggle to be kind to yourself, try and think about what you would say to a friend in the same situation and then try and turn that on yourself. And being kind to yourself can actually make you, a better role model for your kids or your friends if they also struggle with self-criticism. So it does help other people as well. And remember, being kind to yourself or loving yourself doesn't make you a narcissist or selfish. It just makes you healthy and happy. Now I'm going to link some more resources at the end to check out if practicing some self-compassion is really new to you and you want some more help with that. So I would definitely recommend having a look at that if you're interested. And we're going to come back to that point of you might feel pressure to enjoy Christmas, but your mental health is really struggling, or maybe you have kind of experienced things around about this time of year in the past, like somebody said, maybe personal tragedies. It's sort of, drummed into us that Christmas is a time of joy and laughter and happiness, and that's great. But if obviously you struggle with mental health, that constant reminder that you should be happy can make you feel even worse. And maybe that pressure to be happy at Christmas is even, more unwelcome this year, especially if you're feeling more stressed, more depressed, more anxious than usual, or if you're missing your loved ones, whether they live far away or are no longer with us. And all of these things on top of the pressure of having, a happy Christmas can make us feel even worse. So that's why it's so important to take steps to look after yourself and try and minimize stress this year. So let me know what your kind of top tips are for managing kind of stress or having a good time in Christmas, especially if you're not really feeling your best. Some things that I wanted to suggest was just trying to think about what you want to do this Christmas, and write down, what is really important to you. And maybe you want to focus on values, not what you can or can't do. So when we focus on goals, it's very much a yes or no, tick the box or don't tick the box. But when we focus on values, that's not something that we can just cross off our list. It's something that we're constantly working towards, and you can do that in any kind of situation. You can work towards things in any kind of situation. So we talk a lot more about that in the Accept, Commit, Act booklet that's in the handout. So if you're a bit interested in working with values, do check that out, and that can help you plan on how you're going to do the things that you want to do during lockdown. And they don't have to be traditional Christmas things. If Christmas is not your idea of a good time, it's just whatever you want to do. It could be staying at home, taking a bath, watching movies, going for a walk, and practice self-care as well. So treat yourself, find time for yourself, try and keep up your healthy habits, even if you're, out of your usual routine. So getting, enough exercise, getting outside, getting some daylight, maybe practicing your mindfulness, and try and avoid any unhealthy coping strategies like alcohol or drugs can make you feel kind of good in the short term, but can make you feel even worse in the long term. You also want to try and manage your stress. And that I linked the stress handbook because I think that there's a lot to say about that. So if you want a little bit more advice on how to recognize when you're stressed or how to manage stress, definitely have a look at that. Someone said, savoring the little things of Christmas rather than the big stuff. Yeah, I wonder what your kind of favorite little things in Christmas are. Like I say, I love a bad Christmas joke, and things just like decorating the tree or just walking about outside and seeing other people's Christmas decorations kind of gets me in the Christmas spirit. And try not to compare yourself with others as well. We kind of talked a wee bit about that, trying to manage your social media use, things like that. That can just lead you to feel really guilty, shamed, and more depressed if your Christmas isn't perfect. But you could instead maybe try starting something like a gratitude journal. We talked a little bit about that last week in the Coping with Seasonal Depression webinar. But if it's something you're interested in, you can have a look at that webinar or just have a quick internet search and gratitude journals, because there's lots you can find out there that have kind of prompts if you need something that's a little bit more guided or structured. And it's just about spending more time thinking about positive, because we can get so stuck in a negative mindset, and it's shown to really improve people's stress levels, help them relax, especially before bed if it's something that you practice at night time. Oh, and don't try and please everyone, my favourite. It's okay if you don't try to do everything, every Zoom hangout, every socially distanced get together. Practice your assertiveness, say no to what you feel like you can't do, and just say yes to the things that you can do. And maybe you want to talk to someone about how you're feeling. So that might be your friends and family, but sometimes it can feel difficult to talk about how you're feeling at Christmas because you don't want to bring other people down. Or if you're feeling down or stressed, you might want to speak to a counsellor or a psychotherapist. They can help you understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling. They might be able to help you manage your difficulties throughout the festive period. But sometimes just talking to family or friends about how you're feeling, it might shock them if they can't imagine not being happy at Christmas. But for them to even just be aware of how you're feeling can relieve some of the pressure, even if they don't understand. So we've kind of looked a bit then about how we can maybe adapt the festive period this lockdown, how we've looked at some of the stressors that might come up and how to cope with these. So I just want to quickly ask you just the same question I asked you at the start, just to see how confident everyone's feeling, see if anyone's answers have changed. So just as same as before, just click the appropriate response and press submit. And if you've not voted yet, just do that now and I'll close the poll in a wee minute. Okay, I'm just going to close the poll just now. And I'm just going to share the results with everyone. So, I mean, it does look like a lot of you are feeling more confident than you were before. Still some room for improvement. So if there's anything else that you would like to know that would help you feel more confident, then let me know in the questions panel just now. We're going to have time to do some questions. So just while we're doing that, I'm going to just put up these resources. Now, don't worry about writing any of these down. They're all going to be on our website under the news and events page, so you get them all there, all the links. And it's just letting you know what booklets we have available. So I would check out whatever of these you're most interested in. That's just some of the stuff about assertiveness and self-compassion stuff there as well. And all our podcasts are on SoundCloud as well if you're interested. Someone says, yeah, keeping a positive daily diary is really helpful for them. Even if it's just one bullet point or one word about something good, even if it's a small thing like sunrise or saying hello to somebody or getting some tasks done, you can reflect on it and it shows you how positive things are, even if things are difficult. Yeah, that was something that I wasn't really that familiar with until I started this webinar series, was how beneficial keeping something like a positive daily diary is, whether it's like a gratitude journal or just a positive diary about things that are going on in your day. I think I hadn't really realised how negative my mindset was, especially before going to bed. I'm thinking about everything maybe I didn't get done that day, or everything that I've got to get done the next day, or what went wrong, and not really spending any time thinking about what's going well. So I definitely highly recommend it. It's something I started when I did this, and I'm really, really enjoying it. People are saying getting some exercise, going out for a walk is really helpful, doing some mindfulness. Yeah, it gives you a bit of breathing space in the morning. Yeah, I really like that idea. So someone said feeling stressed when a close family member is a bit more relaxed about COVID rules, but you'll be having them over for Christmas. And that's a difficult one, I guess. I guess that's kind of hard, because then how do you decide, is maintaining, more strict kind of quarantine rules within your household and who you invite over to that household kind of more important than seeing family members or maintaining that relationship and not causing any conflict? Or is it worth kind of setting that boundary and saying, actually, we don't want to have you here for Christmas? That sounds a bit harsh, but can we maybe do something on Boxing Day outside? Or, maybe trying to make a plan that allows for more kind of social distancing to happen, especially if you'd be spending Christmas with kind of at-risk people as well. So it could be maybe a compromise to that that you could find, or I guess if your mind's already set that that person is going to be over at your house, maybe some mindful breathing and some walking might help just to manage that stress. More information on that, of course, in our stress booklet. But yeah, that's a good point. It's so difficult to create conflict at Christmas time because there is that expectation, isn't there? Yeah, that's definitely a difficult one. But I think there always is a compromise, if you are empathic with that person and if it's really important to you to look after the health of yourself and the people that share your household, then I think that's I think that compromise can be made. So good luck with that. Unfortunately, I think we're kind of running out of time. So hopefully I have answered lots of your questions, but if there is anything else, my email address is at the bottom there, so please do feel free to email me. So even if I can't answer your question today, I would still love to hear from you. That's absolutely fine. So I just want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. So this has been how to have a merry lockdown Christmas. If you've got any other questions, as I say, just get in touch. Once you leave today's webinar, we'll send you a wee survey. If you could give us some feedback, that would be great. You'll also get a follow-up email within 24 or 48 hours, and that'll have a link to the website, as well as a link to view a recording of today's webinar. And all the handouts, of course, will be on the website. So if you've not been able to join us live and you're watching a recording, you can get all of those under the News and Events tab. If you enjoyed today's webinar, we'd really encourage you to check out some of our previous webinars. We talked about working from home, staying connected, coping with seasonal depression. And you can find all of those on our social medias or on our website under that News and Events tab as well. So on behalf of First Psychology Scotland and myself, thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great Christmas season as well, whatever you decide to do. So thank you.